What's up, guys? It's Zach, the Celtics guy here, and today I want to talk about a country in Latin America and also a couple different topics, both geographical and historic in nature. The country of Argentina that I wanted to discuss. I've referenced a few times in my videos a little bit here and there, but I wanted to talk about the country of Argentina a little bit and in Latin America, and and it's definitely a place that I definitely have had a lot of fascination for, and it's definitely a country I definitely would love to visit at some point. But I don't know, considering how airport security in this country, especially, is a fucking pain in the ass. Steven can definitely tell y'all about his and I experiences with airport security and just how fucking aggravating it is. So I don't know, but all I know is that in the future, at some point in my lifetime, I would definitely love to visit the country of Argentina and explore. I love to explore the world. I've been to several different places. I've been to Portugal, Spain. I've been to a lot of places in the Caribbean. I've been to Aruba several times. I recently have been to the Bahamas, so I can check that off of my list of countries that I have visited. I visited Turks and Caicos. Did I mention Aruba? Yeah, I did. I mentioned there in Barbados. I've been to Canada twice, the Niagara Falls side of Canada, in Ontario, Canada, on the U.S. border. Been there twice. And I hope Argentina is a place I would love to visit. I definitely recommend, and I know for a fact it would be the longest plane ride ever. Like, you literally a plane ass by the time you're done with it. If you want to go to some of the southernmost settlements in the world, like Ushuaia, Argentina, which is a port city located on the southern tip of South America, as part of the Tierra del Fuego region of South America. I'm probably butchering that name, and it's definitely you definitely gotta dress warm. I would say for sure, dress warm. It's like it features a tundra climate. It features a tundra climate. It's got, I'm sure, cold winters and mild summers. It never gets like really cold, but never really warm either. So it's kind of in between an oceanic climate and a subpolar oceanic climate. So it's definitely a place I would love to visit. And another part of Argentina I would love to visit that is also one of the most southernmost settlements in the world is Rio Gallegos, Argentina, which is slightly more different than Ushuaia in terms of it's a little bit different in terms of climate. Really, the only difference is that it's very dry. It's very dry, but it does have a lot of rain when rain does happen, even in the driest months. So it's like a cold, semi-arid climate, basically a cold desert climate. And it's located in in a very southern part of Argentina, in Rio Gallegos. Fun fact about Rio Gallegos. Rio Gallegos was the location of birth of Argentina's former president. What the heck was his name? I remember that it was one of them. It was one of Argentina's. Oh, Nestor Kirchner was his name. He was the husband of the former president of Argentina, Cristina Fernandez. Nestor Kirchner I think he was the governor of the Santa Cruz province of Argentina. If I remember that correctly, I believe he was. I believe that that's what he was, or if he was the governor. Yeah, okay, yep, he was. Okay, definitely a lot of things to link in the description. So Argentina's got a lot of amazing places to see. Definitely the city of Buenos Aires, the capital, is definitely. I mean, Argentina's the home of the tango. I mean, it's where the tango music originates from. And I personally like tango. That tango's a cool theme, I like that. Argentina as a country, I would love to visit because it's got a lot of interesting history. It's got a lot of interesting history to it. It's got a lot of it's got a lot of interesting fact. It's got a lot of interesting. It's got a lot of interesting culture. It's very culturally interesting as a nation. I'd love to visit personally. I definitely would love to visit there. And then there's this history where yes, Argentina was actually a victim of American CIA coups and wars of aggression. The U.S. has propped up military dictatorships and incited a dirty war in Argentina in the 1970s, propped up right-wing dictators, of course, throughout Latin America. Argentina was one of them. In addition to propping up the Sandinistas, in addition to propping up the right-wing rebel groups in Nicaragua, propping up all these different types of right-wing rebel groups, propping up all these right-wing coups and supporting right-wing rebels against the Sandinistas in Nicaragua. That's what they were inciting. Against Daniel Ortega, because Daniel Ortega is in fact he's a social democratic leader in Nicaragua. So Argentina and Nicaragua have a lot in common, and definitely being victims of American aggression is one of them. This is something that the media will never cover. The media will never cover this. The media will never cover this at all. The media will never cover the American aggression against Nicaragua in the 80s, propping up right-wing rebel groups known as the Contras against the Sandinistas in Nicaragua, against their president at the time, Daniel Ortega, who was president in the 70s throughout the 80s and left power in the 1990s and was re-elected into power again in 2007, has been in power ever since. And the reason I'm talking about this today, the history of Argentina, number one, Argentina is definitely a very interesting country, in my opinion, that I definitely would love to visit. And that's number one. I love the history, the culture, all that stuff. I would love to visit at some point. I definitely recommend it. I definitely recommend it to my listeners. And that's number one. Number two, we have reached the 20th anniversary. Around the corner is the 20th anniversary of the American coup against Hugo Chavez in Venezuela. April 13th, 2002 was when Hugo Chavez returned to power after being ousted by a coup that was incited by the Bush administration. A 47-hour ouster. Then he returned to power, saying like, oh, fuck you, Bush, I'm back again, ha ha, fuck you, motherfucker. That's basically what he said, returning to power. And this had an effect on Argentina as well, because Argentina's economy was in shambles at the time the Venezuelan coup took place, when the Bush administration propped up a coup against Hugo Chavez, because the Bush administration had beef with Hugo Chavez over Hugo Chavez's dealings with different American adversaries and so on. This is history for you in a nutshell. Argentina's economy was in shambles. The Bush administration looked the other way, didn't give a fuck about it. Argentina had a debt crisis, and the Bush administration just looked the other way. And this was the beginning of a rising amount of anti-American sentiment in Argentina at the time. And definitely the American coup in Venezuela definitely surged anti-American sentiment in Argentina and in much of Latin America. Also, the history of Latin America and the U.S. inciting coups and whatnot. And of course, I'm considered a Blame America lefty because I talk about history. But no, the right wing will never talk about this. Neither will the neoliberals. The neoliberals will never talk about this. They don't know where any of these places are. They don't give a fuck. They don't give a fuck. You think they know where Rio Gallegos, Argentina is? Do they know where Ushuaia, Argentina is? You think these fucking people know where any of these places are? Absolutely not. They wouldn't visit them. They probably haven't been out of their own fucking states, let alone the damn country. Okay, so these people probably couldn't point out Argentina on a map. You think Janine Pirro or Sean Hannity gives a shit about these things? No, and if anything, they probably support this stuff. But anyway, tangent aside, it basically, I'm going to link this in the description, by a news company called NACLA.org, reporting on the Americas since 1967. So we are coming up. Tomorrow was the ouster, marks the 20th anniversary of the ouster of the democratically elected president of Venezuela, Hugo Chavez. Definitely had his own problems as well. I mean, of course, like every leader, but, you know, whatever. And the Bush administration didn't like Chavez, so when there was a coup against him, definitely was a right-wing coup because Hugo Chavez was a social democrat. Didn't like that, so you know. And then what did they do? They incited it, and then they ousted him. He was ousted out of power for 2 days. Bush supported it. Hugo Chavez got back into the power 2 days later, and then he called out Bush for it. The Bush administration went on the defensive. Argentina was looking at the U.S. and Venezuela in this whole situation, completely shocked, completely down, dumbfounded, like, what the fuck is going on here? Looking like, whoa, like, what the hell? Argentina probably was scared at the time. And at this point in time, just 34% of Argentinians had a favorable view of the U.S. This was under Bush. And you know how many percent had a favorable view of the U.S. in 2007 amidst the Iraq war and everything Bush did and Hugo Chavez's devil speech where he called Bush the devil at the UN? Fucking hilarious speech, by the way. Ripping apart Bush, hilarious, completely hilarious. Just 26%. And of course, it got better under Obama, of course, because definitely Obama was definitely a lot better on foreign policy and so on. He had his own problems too, but that's a whole nother topic altogether. So Argentina basically was completely disgusted with their debt crisis that was going on, that occurred where their economy essentially was in shambles in December of 2001, just a few months after 9/11. The Bush administration looked the other way when Argentina's economy faltered and basically was indifferent about it. That also pissed off Argentinians and ignited Argentinians against the U.S. and definitely caused a surge. And then this incident also ignited anti-American sentiment. And it did, because why are Argentinians suspicious of the U.S.? They have every right to be. I can understand where Argentinians are coming from. I know how the Argentines feel. Because look at this history. And they probably felt like they were going to get ousted. They felt like their government was probably going to get ousted or supported by a coup against them on behalf of the fucking criminal, warmongering, imperialist administration of the Bush administration. W. Bush himself saw Argentina as a powerless country, and Argentina being on the sidelines. Argentinians were looking like, oh no, he's probably going to do it to us. They've done it to us before. Look at what they did by supporting the coup against Hugo Chavez in our own neighborhood. Because the Bush administration especially thought that Latin America was their backyard. Thinking that Latin America is the U.S. government's backyard. Even Biden today thought that. Trump definitely thought that. All thought of that. So this whole event that took place, revisited the significance of U.S. imperialism in Latin America. Latin America and the Caribbean itself. From Nicaragua to Argentina to Chile, Cuba, all sorts of different places. Because this is what the right wing does. When the right wing has power, this is what they do. Look at what the Contras did against the Sandinistas. Look at what they did. They wanted to overthrow them, and they were funded and trained by the CIA. So you got all these different criminal groups against more socialist governments and whatnot. And that's what happened. That's what it was all about. So they saw this as the Bush administration saw Argentina's debt crisis and wanted to make them vulnerable in the region Bush didn't give a fuck about Argentina, and then these people are like shocked when there's like when there's this whole feeling, like when there's this feeling against them and what they're doing, being the world's policemen and so on. This is not, and then of course the right wing will call you anti-American, you hate America, you are blame America. No, I just blame America for a lot of the problems that they've caused throughout Latin America, and I'm sure a lot of Argentinians would agree with me on that. I'm sure a lot of people throughout the Middle East can definitely agree with that. I'm sure a lot of people in that region could definitely agree. But hey, whatever. So I would definitely love to visit Argentina, and it would probably be interesting to hear an Argentinian's point of view. So if anyone from Argentina comes across this video, I definitely encourage you to leave a comment below. If you see this video, if you want to comment in Spanish, or which is the official language of Argentina. Wait, I don't think Argentina. I don't know if they have a national language, but I know their language is Spanish. They speak Spanish, majority at least, different accents and everything else. But I definitely would love to hear an Argentinian's point of view. I mean, I've read a lot of different ones. I mean, I've read a lot of different opinions about how Argentinians feel. Argentinians are people just like everyone else. They don't hate Americans. They don't hate Americans as people, okay? I guarantee you, I went to Argentina with Steven. We wouldn't have any problems. They just don't like what the U.S. did to them in the past, okay? Here's the thing. Anti-Americanism in Argentina was particularly high under Bush, definitely under Trump. Not so much now, because it's a little bit different. It's a different time. Under Obama, it wasn't that bad. Well, until when Obama visited them in 2016 during the anniversary of the Dirty War, that definitely incited and reignited protests on the streets, telling Obama to declassify documents from the CIA about the Dirty War in Argentina, and so on. There's all sorts of different things. So this is all history. So it would be interesting to hear what anyone has to say. A person from Ushuaia, in the southernmost city in the world, to Rio Gallegos, a very southern city in Argentina, with a cold, semi-arid climate, with one of the southernmost cities in the world. It'd be interesting to hear what they have to say. It'd be interesting to hear what people have to say. I would love to talk to people. If any of you are from there, from Argentina, from Latin America, I encourage you to leave a comment below. It definitely would be interesting. And the reason I'm talking about Argentina is because Argentina it's a country I definitely would love to visit. Again, I've said this before. But I'm also talking about it because we're approaching the anniversary of the CIA coup against Hugo Chavez in 2002 that had a big effect on Venezuela had a big effect on Venezuela, had a big effect on Argentina. Argentina had an economic meltdown at the time. We didn't give a fuck about it. We just wanted to incite more coups. The U.S. government wanted to incite more coups against them. And the list goes on and on. So there's all sorts of different things, all sorts of different histories, you name it. So however Argentinians feel about the U.S., I understand how you feel. I feel for you. I hate the fact that my government did this to you. And I feel for you. I feel for all of you. They don't speak for me. My government does not speak for me. Okay, my government does not speak for me. My government has anything to do with me. I see through their lies. I see through their propaganda. This is why I do this on this channel, because I want to educate and encourage people to see that this is the truth. These are the things the media in this country and in the West will never talk about. They'll never tell you about it. Never will they ever report on this type of thing. They'll never tell you the truth about Cuba. They'll never tell you the truth about Venezuela. They'll never tell you the truth about any of these places. Argentina, Chile, Uruguay, whatever. They'll never talk about it. Just like in Bolivia, never will they talk about it, about Evo Morales. They'll never talk about the coup against him to prop up Janine Áñez, a right-wing backed dictator, genocidal fucking maniac, and then Jair Bolsonaro, who's a complete bigot, a racist, a homophobe, and a tyrant and a war criminal. That also Donald Trump propped up in Brazil. So all these different things, and then you see right-wing governments popping up, and then you see leftist governments popping up in Argentina, like Alberto Fernandez popping up, and then you got And then you got the President Gabriel and president in Chile, Gabriel, also popping up. So different people in different parts of South America. It's really screwed up. A lot of these different things are really screwed up. There's all sorts of things that need coverage, that deserve coverage. And Argentina as a country did not deserve any of these things. These places did not deserve any of these things to happen to them. Because what the U.S. government did to them is fucked up. And I, as an American, am against it. I am against imperialism on behalf of my fucking government. I'm against these types of things. Leave those fucking people alone. Leave Argentinians alone. Leave Venezuelans alone. Leave Cubans alone. Leave Bolivians alone. Leave all these people alone. Let these people live in peace. Peace, cooperation with them, talking to them. That's what we should do with them. Yes, Argentina has its own problems. Of course. Argentina's got plenty of problems. Economic turmoil, corruption, all sorts of different things. There's oligarchy in all certain parts of the world. Argentina's no exception, of course. Every Argentinian, a lot of Argentinians will tell you that. There's lots of different types of problems. Drugs, gender violence, domestic violence. There's a lot of problems in those places. But Argentina, other than those problems, is definitely a very progressive nation in Latin America, especially on LGBT rights, etc., etc. Women's rights, you name it. But Argentina was a victim of American aggression, American governmental aggression, because of their vulnerability at the time, and at the time during the Bush administration. During the time of the Bush administration, that I fucking hate. And I hope that fucking Bush should be fucking hanged, because he's a fucking war criminal and a murderer and a piece of shit. And every other president, both preceding him and proceeding him, is no better, really, in all honesty. They're all imperialists. They all have their own agenda. They're all with the military-industrial complex, the Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, the fucking big banks, you name it. They're all in bed with pro-Israeli groups. They're all in bed with right-wing groups and everything else. All these different people are all a bunch of imperialists. They're all fucking imperialists. Every single one of them are all imperialists. And we need to rise up against American imperialism, because American imperialism affects Americans like myself. They affect Americans like ourselves. It's why we don't have universal health care. It's why we don't have universal education and a $15 minimum wage. It's why we don't have the things that America should have, that every modern industrial nation does have. This is to say that I, as someone who's center-left, I'm a social revolutionary. I want a social democratic revolution in this country, like the Scandinavian region, and like what a lot of Latin America has. I would like to have that. I would love to have that in this country. But unfortunately, in a lot of it, you can't have nice things because the pharmaceutical companies run the shows. So this is history for all of you. This is history for everyone. This is history about Argentina, both historic, geographical, geopolitically, you name it. And I encourage peace, friendship, and stability with these countries. I want America to have good relations with every country, even our adversaries. I want our country to have good relations with our neighbors, with our adversaries, with everyone. Argentina, Cuba, even with Russia, you name it. I don't even mind our country being friendly with Israel, but I don't want us to be under the thumb of fucking Israel. I also want us to be friendly with Iran as well. I want us to be friendly with every person out there. So why don't we do it and make it happen? We got to make it happen. We got to make the change happen. And this is history. As we're approaching 20 years of when this incident happened, and look at what fucking Bush did. Bush is probably sitting there in his fucking ranch getting fucking shit-faced off his fucking rocker. And he's probably sitting back thinking, just sitting there as he's drinking, getting fucking drunk on his fucking ranch. I did nothing wrong. I did nothing wrong. I did what I was right as president. You know, that's what he thinks. Because he's a warmonger. He's a war criminal. He's a murderer and a piece of shit. And when you he runs each and every time someone stands up to him. That's exactly what happens. So as we're approaching 20 years of when the coup in Venezuela took place by the CIA against Hugo Chavez, and it was hilarious to see Hugo Chavez return to power 2 days later because he basically defeated Bush. He won. It was a war against Bush, and Hugo Chavez won the war against Bush. He fucking won. His plan failed. Hugo Chavez is like, I'm back. And then Argentina's like, oh, thank God. Oh, good. He returned to power. Okay, great. You know, maybe they didn't care. They probably had their minds elsewhere at the time because they were facing all sorts of other different problems. So they had their problems at the time. All these other countries in the region had their problems. Mexico had their problems at the time, I'm sure. Uruguay had their problems. All these different places all had their problems. You know, Brazil was probably only a democracy at the time for maybe 10 or 12 years. It used to be a right-wing military dictatorship until the 80s or 90s because it was one backed by the U.S., of course. And is now slowly becoming one again under fucking Jair Bolsonaro, of course, as we speak. I feel for those people. So, this is what you have. I talk about the history of Argentina and the history about anti-Americanism in Argentina. And I talk about it all throughout Latin America and how all these different things unfolded. I'm talking about all these things in the sense of a social democratic sense and an anti-imperialist sense and a social revolutionary sense. Because this is what I want. I want a national liberation from these fucking people. I want to be liberated from neocons and neoliberals, every single one of them. These fucking capitalists, corrupt corporatist capitalist fuckers. I want peace from all of them. I want peace from all these corrupt assholes, every single one of them. They can all fuck themselves. My thoughts are with the people of Argentina. Argentina is a pretty country. It's got a great history, a great culture, and I would love to visit. Someday, I'd love to visit Buenos Aires, maybe Rio Gallegos, maybe Ushuaia, maybe Porto Williams, which is technically, Porto Williams, Chile, is the southernmost settlement of the world, but in terms of a city sense, Ushuaia is the most southernmost city in the world, over in Argentina. Chile and Argentina border each other. Would love to see. And this is the history, and people need to be aware of their history. We as Americans need to be aware of history because they're not teaching it in our schools. They're not teaching it in our media. They're not telling you these things. We need to be aware of these things. Even when we talk about geography and things like that, we need to be aware of what goes on in these places and what our government, what other imperialist powers have done to them. And we need to put in place, we need to advocate for peace to make sure it never happens again. And we need to do that. And I want to talk about every single thing with these countries, whether it's their culture, geography, history, geopolitics, whatever. We need to talk about these things, be aware of these things, and make our views known that we as Americans, by and large, we do not want these things. We're not all Fox News. We're not all this. There's a lot of us that are against this shit. We don't want it, and that's the end of it. And 20 years of this fucking coup, this criminal coup against a democratically elected leader, we need to stand up as Americans and say, we do not support this, we do not want this. To the people of Venezuela, the people of Argentina, the people of Chile and Cuba and elsewhere, we as Americans, we don't want this. We don't want the fucking embargo on Cuba. We don't want the embargo on Cuba that's been on for over 60 fucking stupid years. We don't want this shit. I don't want this. I don't want that. I want to be able to travel to Cuba if I want to. And I want to be able to do these types of things if I want to. That's not simping for communism or socialism. That's just, I have a different opinion than my government. I have a different opinion than my government. My government doesn't speak for me. I have a different opinion. Like, I have a different opinion based on the research and the independent research that I do on my own. And that I spread for all my viewers and my friends and my family to be aware of. Because I want this. I want peace and stability throughout the world. I want this type of thing. We can make the world a better place, but we must make our views known. And don't let anyone tell you otherwise. Don't let the American government or the media tell you otherwise. Don't let them tell you otherwise. Just always know that. Just always know that. Know that for a fact. I know that for a fact, and that's what I believe. Everything that I'm saying right now in this video, where I'm just sitting here chilling at home, relaxing while Steven is at work, sitting here in my tank top and pajamas. I'm going to be sitting here chilling and relaxing and doing all these things. I plan to go. I do, even on my days off. I want to do these things because it's interesting to me. I want to do this. Let's join hands and let's get it done. Let's get it done. Let's call all of the bullshit out in the world and what's really going on. We need to talk about what's really going on, and let's keep doing it. Let's up the pressure on the empire that is governing our country, the oligarchy and the military-industrial complex. That is the real enemy of the U.S. and the real enemy of the American people and Americans, ordinary Americans like myself, and the world's people in general. We need to do so we can get it done. I hope to visit Argentina in the future. I hope to visit more countries in the future. I have to go more places in the future. Maybe then airport security won't be as fucking aggravating. I don't know, but I don't know. I'd like to visit, but at the same time, I'm not going to go anywhere without my Steve. Because him, I take him everywhere. I want him to join in with me. Maybe he will, maybe we can think of something, I don't know. But either way, I will always tell the truth about the issues. I will always call out bullshit, whether it's popular, unpopular, I don't care. We need to call all of it out, and I will continue to call it out no matter what I have to do to make my views known. Let's do so we can get it done. May peace be with the people of Argentina, Venezuela, and Latin America and the Caribbean, and with people worldwide. So anyway, I'm going to end it here. I know this is a longer video than I intended. I definitely had a lot to say. Anyone has any more questions, leave comments in the comments below. I'll see you all again next time in the next video. I'm going to spend the rest of the evening relaxing until I have to go pick up Steven. Hope you all enjoyed this video in this little history lesson and geographical lesson. Hope you all enjoyed. Have any questions, let me know in the comments below. Stay tuned to find out more videos on the way. This is Zach the Celtics guy saying thank you for watching. I'll see you all again next time in the next stream or video or premiere, whatever it happens to be. I'll see you all again next time. And next time, there'll definitely be more to come, because there's definitely more that needs to be said. We need to keep calling this stuff out, no matter how long it happens to be, because this shit is really fucked up. This type of thing really needs fixing. American imperialism, any kind of country's imperialism, is no good. We need to speak out against imperialism everywhere, every time. May peace be with you. I'll see you all again next time. Bye for now, and have a good day.